Welcome to the John Harrison Podcast. Statistics show us that about 70% of people are disengaged in the workplace. Obviously, that affects bottom lines of companies, individual, their own engagement at work, but also affects families and communities. We don't want to just be frustrated about things that are going on in the workplace or in the world. We want to do something about it. So we're going to talk about this while others aren't, and we hope you will join us on this journey.
Welcome back to the John Harrison Podcast. This is Madeline, and I've got John here, Melissa, and we have a special guest who we will introduce in just a moment. We're very excited to have him on. Today we're going to be talking about the power of recognition in the workplace and also just in life. So John, I'll kick it to you first.
Thanks, Madeline. So the word recognition, I think in the workplace, we think about that. We get it confused with reward a lot. So we need to recognize people who did a good job. Let's give them some gift cards. Let's do a Yeti cup. Let's put a plaque up on the wall. And all that stuff is great. But I think from our perspective, and in our sessions, we talk about recognition, obviously comes from the root word recognize. And when I think of that, it's really just recognizing that your employees and the people that are you're spending these 40, 50, 60 hours with every week are human beings, and they have stories and they have struggles and they have great things in their lives. And I think we miss that a lot. And right away I'll get some people say, well, John, I've got somebody on my team. He doesn't like to share stuff like that. He's very private. Well, then don't push it. We're not telling you to push it. But most people, as you get to know them, they do open up. And it's amazing what impact that makes in a workplace relationship. And when I used to be at Caterpillar and I would walk the shop floor, I was not the smartest guy in the room. I wasn't a manufacturing genius, but I do know that people saw that I cared about them because we would talk and I'd remember their kid's name or their hobbies or whatever. And I'm not patting myself on the back for that. I'm saying that is an easy thing. And first of all, I just learned from them and I loved them. And I think when I did have to share bad news with them, hey, we're all going to have to work Saturday morning because of blah, blah, blah. They didn't go, oh, that guy's a jerk. Like, I can't believe he's making I think there was a relationship there, but it wasn't inappropriate in terms of we were all best friends and we were all hanging out together. It wasn't like that. So I'm going to have Melissa jump in here from her perspective from the human resources world here in a minute. But we have a guest with us today, a friend of mine, Brandon Hall, joining us today. So Brandon, give us a 30-second story. Tell me the Brandon Hall story in 30 seconds.
Well, I went in the military as some young men do and did that for a number of years. Got hurt, didn't have a way in life. My sister's boyfriend actually got me into plumbing, and then I had a child and I took a detour because somebody told me if you have a child, your child is 80% more likely to go to college. Well, nobody in my family went to college. So I started going to college and got to study all the things I want to do. I studied acting and Shakespeare and during that time, in order to have a child and go to college, I had to take the restaurant jobs. Ended up becoming a chef, finally got out of that, and then I went back to plumbing. Because it's the game.
It pays the bills. Man.
It's the game. It's a rewarding, very rewarding field.
So what I love about that, and Jen and I and Brandon have not been friends for a long time. We met Brandon because he is a plumber and he's an incredible plumber. But we've had many conversations with some Jen because I'm not here and sometimes I'm here. And when we've met his wife recently but I love that story because if we were going to unpack the Brandon Hall story, we'd do a 3-hour podcast, I'm sure, because there's good stuff and bad stuff that happened all through those years. But I love, like in a 30-second story, what comes out of that. And even in our sessions, we'll do that. Like one of our 9 expectations that we train on is called Know Your People. And I'll just ask, there could be 30 people in the room, and I'll say, how many of you are living more than 4 hours away from the city in which you were born? And usually like 70% of the hands go up. Mm-hmm. And I'll just pick 3 or 4 of them. I go, where were you born? And sometimes it'll be New Jersey. Sometimes it'll be Guatemala.
San Diego, California.
Exactly. And then I'll go, now, how did you get from New Jersey or San Diego to Arkansas? Well, in one sentence, they might say, well, my dad was in the military. I hear that a lot. My mom and dad got divorced. I met a person of the opposite sex. I went here for school. We had somebody sadly say, I was so abused in my house, I just left home when I was 16. I just ran away. And it's amazing to watch people's faces in our sessions when it's just a one sentence story. Because then I'm like, okay, now on the break, people are going to ask you more questions about, like, hey, what branch of the military were you in? Or what part of New Jersey did you live in? It just instantly breaks that down. And I think, again, as in the workplace, and probably more than ever in our society, because we feel like, oh, we're interfering with people and people want to be private. And I think we don't ask some of these things sometimes, just getting to know people over time. So, Melissa, from your side of things, having spent time in many different industries and even in the human resources world, why is recognition important?
Yeah, I made the mistake a lot of years of being very revenue driven and focused on the organization's goals, and utilizing people as a tool or a means to an end. And it wasn't in a dysfunctional kind of use way. It was just a matter of fact in getting business done. But as time went on, circumstances in my life, things I've experienced, right, I have begun to realize just the value and the importance of seeing people for who they are and appreciating that. And thinking back to early years in my career where I had people pouring into me just from the sheer sake of listening. And then, later in my career, I started getting accolades, whether it was a Starbucks gift card or a bonus for this, or, having people on my team that I was issuing bonuses to, and it just became very revenue focused. And so I saw the stark contrast in those two ways of doing business and interacting with people. And by far, I think our human nature is that people just want to be known and they want to be seen. And the Starbucks gift card's great, the bonus is great, the extra time off from work is great. But I think where the rubber meets the road, people just genuinely want to be known and want to be heard. And it can be the simplicity of knowing their story, or it can be an ear listening to a stressful time they're going through personally or a project at work. But there's just so much value and genuine relationship mileage that comes from that can't be replaced by all those tangible things. And I think organizations, leaders sometimes get those two confused, or maybe they lean heavy in one direction or the other. So I think there's a balance there that needs to be maintained, and just getting it right in the timing of things is equally critical, because there's a time to be business and goal oriented, and there's a time to be human related and knowing who you're talking to and what's going on in their life, I think.
Yeah, that's well said. And I think this isn't bad when companies do this, but I saw this at Caterpillar. Hey, let's cook hamburgers and hot dogs for everybody today. That'll be fun. And it is, of course, people are going to take a free hamburger or hot dog, but that's not really getting to know them. And we talk about passion being like water in the bottle. That'll put a little water back in their bottle for the day. I got a free lunch, and that was nice. And I always also think it's interesting when executive level owner people go, hey, you know what? Even better than cooking hot dogs, I'll serve them the hot dog today. That'll show that I'm a man of the people. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. But what Melissa's saying is just getting to know folks. And that's going to go a lot longer way than just the gift card or the hot dog or whatever. And this is just when you talked about coffee, I've only started drinking coffee the last 5 or 6 years of my life. But I left Caterpillar.
Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome.
Welcome to the coffee world. Yeah. So after 25 years at Caterpillar, I was boxing up my stuff, and I had all kinds of coffee mugs that I never used because I wasn't a coffee drinker. And I wasn't like mad about that. But Caterpillar go, hey, everybody did a great job. Everybody gets a coffee mug. And again, it's easy to give everybody a gift card. Everybody gets hot dogs and hamburgers for the day. It takes extra effort to know what kind of motivates Melissa or Brandon or Madeline. So, go ahead.
Just one thing I had a thought there as you were talking about that. Going out, feeding people, serving the hot dogs and hamburgers. Yes, that's one thing. But I've also seen leaders and executives and organizations that invite people in for roundtable type discussions and just understanding some of the struggles and obstacles that are happening within the business. And a lot of times that's just all people want, is to be heard. Sometimes there's things in organizations where you tend to feel like you're beating your head against the wall. Well, we've had a discussion about this, it's not going to work. We've had a discussion about this, it's not going to work. And you've had that discussion multiple times. But for somebody to really sit down and be part of the problem solving discussion with you, I think is also important. And there's a human nature to that. I mean, there's a human aspect to that where you feel heard, you feel appreciated, and you get an opportunity to weigh in on it.
I think the show to that undercover CEO that was on for a while, right? And people dug that show. Now, I think part of it was probably not completely innocent.
You got to drum up a little bit of,
yes,
you got to pull them in. Sure.
Some emotion,
That's
and
right.
they chose certain people, and it was manipulated a little bit. But I think, again, people went, oh, wow, that CEO is really seeing what the person that works at Subway is dealing with right now. And you did Krispy Kreme stuff. So I think that's a lot of it's just walking in somebody's shoes for a little bit.
Sure. I mean, I think one of the most powerful things I've ever been told is, it's not, hey, Brandon, you did a great job, here's a $100 gift card. It's, Brandon, you are one of the most on-time employees I have. And you know what? Guess what? I'm always on time now because it resonated so powerfully. This specific thing that I prided myself on is now ingrained.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I think we say, good job, good job. We always say that in our set. That's a nice thing to say, but what was good? But now you'll never forget that.
I just love the spin that we're taking on this because I feel like, we really recognize whenever we say the word recognition, we think of like all the good works that someone's doing, but we're also trying to drive home the point that like, yes, you should recognize for the good things and be specific, but also like just realizing that people have stories and trying to get to know them below the surface level. And that's recognition as well.
Yeah, and I think people, again, they back off because they think, well, as soon as I get to know them, then there'll be favoritism, and they're going to expect me to promote them. And it's like, no, I think as humans, we just freak out about stuff like that. But tied to all this, so Brandon, you were just telling us kind of off the mics here that you've been doing a little interesting thing talking to homeless people.
I have been.
And tell me, you told me you're basically asking them 3 questions. If you pull up on your truck and they're standing there, what are you asking them?
Sure. So I offer the money and I say, hey, I got 3 questions for you. What is your greatest accomplishment, not including your children? Because the children can really throw people off. My child is my greatest thing ever. I want something very personal for you, be it I beat a video game, or I've been told so many great things. Oh, I served in Vietnam and it was the greatest accomplishment in my life. Hey, great. I mean, that's amazing. And then I follow it up with what is your greatest regret, or one thing, action that you can go and redo? And a lot of them say prison. They wish they wouldn't have gone to prison for XYZ. I've had some other ones that are, but the big ones are prison. That's always been a one that seems a trend.
How about substance? Do they ever talk about starting drugs, alcohol, smoking? Does that ever come up?
I think it goes kind of hand in hand in a lot of some people may be embarrassed by that. So
sure,
I let them kind of lead the way as far as what the regret is. And I've seen people take a minute when they're telling me, like it's hitting them for the first time. That's and then I follow it up.
What about like broken relationships? Have you heard?
I haven't done that. I haven't heard that one so much, but I'm sure there's some.
That's part of the story too, usually.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a domino effect. A terrible parent, a lack of a parent, who knows, XYZ. And then I followed up with something very light. I asked them what would be their final meal on earth if they could choose. And a lot of them is their mom's ribs. I had the ribs the other day. And, I thought about making these recipes that they're saying. I had one that said cornbread. I will knock your socks off with my cornbread. Yeah. My cornbread has a little bit of cream corn in it. It's so good. Okay. So just some of the things I've been asking, and everybody's had you see there's a little bit more pep in their step. Yeah. You're just identifying them as just somebody hears me. Yeah. Somebody that, understands that I have problems too.
And what I love about that, Brandon, is, again, you could have given them just the $5. And of course that, people like, oh, you can't give them money because they're going to use it for, all the wrong stuff. I get that too.
Me too.
Yes.
McDonald's was right down the road. I get the McRib next time.
But I think what you said, like even the pep in their step comment is cool, because all of a sudden for 30 seconds, they weren't homeless. It was recognized. Recognition. We're having a conversation like two buddies, just, hey, tell me about this thing in your life. And so the point of all that is if that can do that for a homeless person, and I just love that message, and maybe that's something we can all learn from today. But there's all these people in the workplace that really are probably nameless, faceless sometimes, and they're not expecting a lot, and they're not expecting a raise every time or free hot dogs and hamburgers. But man, if you just sat and chatted with them, and I know for some of you that would be, you go, wow, I've never ever done that. That would look so weird if I started doing that. Well, be honest about it. I mean, have a meeting and go, you know what? I'll tell you what. We're always running 100 miles an hour around here, and I've never done that before, and I'd love to get time with you and just hear more about what you do when you're not at work and family or whatever it is. But I just love that story, that it just makes these people, their chest pump out a little bit, even when it's tough stuff, because it's back to that, we've recognized them as a human being.
Well, sure. Like when you were saying earlier that sometimes you have to give people the bad news that they're going to have to work on Saturday. Mm-hmm. The great thing about some bosses is they're going to be there with you. They're not just telling you. They're saying, hey, we are going to have to be on Saturday,
It's funny you say that, because like even in the Little Rock plant, when we got it up and running, I didn't have to be there. And we didn't work a bunch of Saturdays. It was pretty rare. But I would always tell Jen, I'm going to run out there. And sometimes I took donuts or whatever. But most of the time I just walked. And I might be there for an hour. Now they were there from 8 to 12 maybe, or 7 to 11. I was maybe there from 8 to 9. But there was part of me saying, I just want them to recognize. That's still I didn't pretend. I think I'll just sit in my office for 4 hours, so when they go home, it looks there. They see my car, mm-hmm. So they knew I wasn't there. And sometimes I did work on the floor, but even just being there, I think showed them that okay, he could have been at home and he's time away from his family. But that's a perfect example too, where at some point, if they just see, human beings really respond to just a little bit of stuff. I mean, and when they see that, they'll. I always thought I wanted my people to bust through a brick wall for me. They're not going to do that if you're a name on a roster.
Sure, if you're the one swinging the hammer, I'm going to join you.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
Little things.
And being on the job site, I mean, it allows you to circumvent potential problems. If you're there, you have all the information. Everyone's going to tell you, hey, this is going on. Hey, concrete's going a little late today. Okay, let me let such and such know. Being a part of it, if you're a part of the process, then everybody feels like a cohesive team. So it tells me that you were the glue, and everybody's got to be the glue sometimes.
That's right.
Yeah, and even if you're not a formal leader, but you happen to be that person that's the glue for your team or your crew, right? Everybody has built trust with you, and they know, okay, the concrete's going to be a little late today. Let's go talk to Brandon, or let's go talk to Madeline. We need some reassurance or some encouragement around that and what it is that we need to do or the steps that we need to take next. And John, you started the conversation kind of by saying, everybody's personality basically is different. Yes, and we have some people that just don't want to be recognized or just don't want to talk or share or whatever. But I think if we all do a little inward search, right, there is the need for having somebody in our life relative to the highest highs and the lowest lows. And if I think about that in terms of myself, there's different people in my life that I would go to, and it might be somebody different for the highest high and the lowest low. Mm-hmm. But what if I could be that person for someone else? And adjusting my style, or if I know I'm strong in a certain area and that somebody might need this from me, just being available and approachable in terms of that. And again, it's just the self-awareness of the relationship.
Yeah, that's so good. Madeline, I was thinking about when your grandpa at your funeral.
Oh, yeah,
funerals. At funerals is when you will hear people come up to you and go, Madeline, your grandma or your grandpa they were the best person I ever worked with. Like people hear story, because you're not thinking of your parents or grandparents in that sphere, sort of that arena. But he was the best guy I ever worked for. And I'm like, we know that when it gets to the end of our lives, that's the stuff that matters. No one's going to go, Melissa, your dad was really good at, spreadsheets, or he was really good at, plumbing, or he's really, like, it's going to be, I remember your dad, he would come talk to me, or he would do this, or it's all these little touch points that people remember.
I don't know. I think I'm going to have a lot of people go, I'm going to miss his plumbing.
He was a great.
I do. I think there's going to be that.
There's a lot of sadness about that. I can feel that. Yeah.
His garbage disposal works.
He was so amazing. So I do think that's kind of the core here, is that we all know what these little things are so important, and we love when it when it happens to our family members. Oh, that was so nice for my mom that at my dad's funeral, all these people said great things about my. Well, do that while you're alive. Yeah. Do that and talk to people and share that stuff, whether it's a homeless person or the person that's in your group. So anyway, I hope that helped at least talk about, we always try to do things a little differently in our team. And I hope that when you saw the title of recognition, you might have thought, they're going to tell us the best gifts to get people. But I think hopefully we did. And the best gift is getting to know them and know that they all have a story.
Yeah, that's really great, John. I love the spin that we took on this, and I think that's the way we try to come about, all the concepts that we talk about, is to give you a different perspective. Before we jump off, I did want to let you guys know that if you go to our website, you can see all of our 3-day multi-company VIP leadership sessions, and we actually have some where we usually host them all in Little Rock, but we actually have some this year in Fort Smith and Rogers. So we have those dates on our website, and if you are in that area and you'd like to join us, we would love to have you. So you can find all that information on our website.
Thank you for joining us today on the John Harrison Podcast. As you know, we believe that a positive work culture creates a ripple effect that extends into families and communities. If you found anything of value in today's episode, please share it with somebody so they can hear it as well. And if you have questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, please fill out the form below.